All right, one of the biggest debates on the streets today, just like some time ago, it was about Ekiti, is the one for Osun State governorship election conducted on Saturday.
That's right.
The outcome has generated lots of assurances on one side, controversy on the other side, maybe dissatisfaction on the other side, and maybe
Agitation on several sides.
more agitation and more debate as the case may be. But in all of this, we try to understand all the sides, what people are saying and why they're saying so, to make us understand how the outcome played out in Osun State. We have the Executive Director, Committee for the Protection of People's Mandate in the studio, Nelson Ekujumi. He was at the election, one of those monitoring the election. It's good to see you.
Good morning, it's a pleasure being here.
All right. And we also have Dayo Lomoagun. He's a lawyer. He's here with us in the studio as well. He has been monitoring the outcome of that election as well. Nelson, let me start with you. You were in Oshogbo, you were in other parts of Osun State. How satisfied are you that democracy is being rooted down or being deepened into the fabrics of our governance or politics?
Well, I can say I'm satisfied above average due to the fact that we saw the performances of some of the stakeholders. While some kept to the rules of the game, there is usually the attempt by others to circumvent the process. By and large, INEC performed creditably well with regards to the arrival at polling stations, distribution of their materials. As early as 7 a.m., I went on the streets of Oshogbo because I covered Oshogbo, Ede North, Ede South, Egbedore, and Iwo. I was in 5 local government council areas of the state. And my observation was that, and reports, I monitored even the media, and I spoke to people at the polling stations as well as other election observers. My report states that, 1, INEC got to most of the polling units, if not all, as early as 8 a.m. with their materials. In fact, there was this school at Oshogbo, at Olaya Junction, where the INEC ad hoc staff, our patriotic youth corpers, said they had to sleep overnight in the school in order to start the process early. I got to Ede. It was the same story that they started as early as 8 a.m. And the people of Osun State trooped out in large numbers to exercise their franchise. The deployment of security personnel was very professional. You had security, unarmed security men, minimum of 4 at each polling units. Then you had the patrolling security apparatus who were going around. You had a mobile blockade on the roads, because there was this restriction on movement except you're on essential or electoral functions. By and large, like we have come to note now, we have heard complaints, but the truth of the matter is that we must at all times admonish and remind our people that INEC is a creation of the law. INEC is bounded by the law. Whatever INEC does, once it violates the law, then INEC, will be charged before competent courts of jurisdiction by people going to court. So for me, when I see people raising alarm about the inconclusiveness of the announcement of result of the election, I want to refer them to what happened in 2015. You remember the Imo State Rerun issue. And, the INEC chief returning officer made reference to section 153 of the Electoral Act, which I'm sure all of us agree that that Electoral Act was not just written on that Saturday, September 22, 2018. That act had existed before now.
Nelson, talking about the inconclusive nature of election, let me come to the lawyer very quickly. At the very first presidential election held in 1979, was inconclusive between late Chief Obafemi Awolowo and Alhaji Shehu Shagari. The Supreme Court had to decide whether the winner got 25% of to third of the states in Nigeria. The same issue happened in 1999 in Rivers State. 2011 was Imo State. In 2014, the election in Anambra State was also inconclusive. Before talking about what recently happened in Kogi, and Bayelsa State. But the argument still remains whether an inconclusive election is as a result of deepening democratic process or loopholes in our system of conduct of election in this part of the world. How do you react to that?
Oh, so I think it depends on from which angle you're looking at it. I think each stakeholder will want to take advantage of whatever is on the ground, whether it's loophole or anything. But for me, I think this is a recurring factor. Maybe you will have thought by now something should have been done to our Constitution or the Electoral Act or something that we do not necessarily need to go this route every time that the election is inconclusive. Because you look at the cost involved, you look at the heartache involved for people, the rigor and all that, and you want to ask, does it really worth it? But to the extent that it is the law, you have a right to see how you play on whatever provision you have in the law to your advantage. So for me, I mean, as a country, I would think it's not necessarily helping to deepen our democracy. In that people always find a way around it. And when the intentions around the election ultimately is not allowed or is not seen to be allowed to be upheld, then you have a challenge. Then people have a challenge with elections, especially in this part of the world.
All right, Nelson, let me come back to you. You were in Ekiti and you were also in Osun. Yeah. When it comes to measuring the temperature and the behavior of the voters and the sophistication of the electorate, how would you compare them? Or how would you vary them?
Well, the template in Ekiti is quite different from Osun. Okay. But due to the advocacy that we all embarked upon, including the media, most especially, you could see that we've had a departure from the brazen monetization of the elections. In Edo, in Ekiti, in Ondo, in Anambra, you saw open buying of votes at the polling centers. But in this election, some people said the vote buyers, the vote merchants, devised another means. For us...
Were you able to confirm that?
No, I said some.
Okay.
That tells you I can't confirm because I didn't see it. I don't have the facts. But when you hear stories, it is right for you to throw it into the public domain and let people debate it, and maybe somebody can come up and with say, the proof.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that I was
involved.
Yes, that
and
I
this was
involved.
How much I got.
This was yes. So I didn't see it. I even spoke to the electorate. When I get to a polling station, I will look for a young man and say, please, where are they paying money here? Me too, I want to vote. The guy will look at me and will laugh. You say, I didn't come here to collect money. Some people traveled all the way from long distances to their polling units. Even from outside the state. Some people came from as far as Lagos, Delta, and what have you.
Returning home to vote.
Returning home to vote. Okay. That tells you the resoluteness of the people to exercise their franchise. So, but whatever now transpired between them and the vote merchants, it was not visible to our eyes. But we are also aware that the media reported the arrest of some persons with cash. So we cannot rule that out. And also you heard that prior to the election, people were, from the media reports, that the vote merchants had devised a new means because of the noise around vote buying, that it was now electronic transfer, which EFCC had promised to track. So it is now left for us to ask EFCC what is the outcome of your tracking of the
exactly? Because before the election, we heard that there were collation of account numbers, collating account numbers and all of that. So
that means that you have to be careful the time you transfer money. It doesn't have to happen around election.
EFCC can come after
since we have a lawyer here, let's take a look for a bit at the position of the law as regards INEC's decision. INEC says that in this case, the margin between the two top contenders is lesser than the total number of registered voters in polling units where elections were cancelled. But PDP, on the other side, is referring to a part of the 1999 Constitution. I think it's section 179, subsection 2, which says that for a governor of a state to emerge, all it needs is the highest number of votes cast, and he has not less than 1/4 of all the votes cast. Which one is applicable in this case?
You see, as beautiful as the logistics and the arrangement around this election was, and you're giving INEC some accolade for this, at the end of the day, you say it's inconclusive. And people are asking more questions. And if you go to the street, more question and more question and more question. Now, the law on this, you see, it seems, so there's a provision in the law, like you just mentioned. This person that has the highest number of votes so far, it is in, I mean, we have the information that he already satisfied that portion of the Constitution you just mentioned, that section of the Constitution you just mentioned, in that he won at least 25% from the 2/3 of the local government in the state. Now you will have expected that at that junction, maybe INEC will have declared the winner, him as the winner. But then, if you go to the Electoral Act, which some people argue that has a lower authority to the Constitution, in section, I think section 53, subsection 2, subsection 3, it actually mentioned in that section that you can actually ask for, I mean, a runoff. You can actually ask for a rerun if there are issues with the fact that you cannot declare a clear winner because, for instance, not necessarily because the margin because elections are cancelled, that place actually mentioned when there's a tie. Okay. So in this case, APC has 5,000 and PDP has 5,000, and you don't have a clear winner. Maybe you can go for a rerun. So both in the Constitution and in the Electoral Act, provision was made for a rerun when they tie. But as in this case, where some votes were cancelled, and we need to ask the question, why were those votes cancelled, and who cancelled the vote? You see, people are asking question that if INEC cancel this vote, and you say they are not valid, are they because they are not valid vote, or because of other reasons? And so if you cancel the vote, are you obtaining your own decision at the end because the collation is done, and we're almost at, I mean, getting to the point where we can declare the winner. Yeah. So you want to ask that question. But again, if you look at it, and you want to also be fair to other party, now if an electorate is not allowed to vote, not for reason he calls for himself or herself, you will be denying him of his franchise the right to vote if he's not given the opportunity to vote.
All right, we have also seen areas where if there are inconsistencies and INEC decides to cancel the election, they remain cancelled and kept out of the system. Well, this wasn't the case. But we'll come back to all of this because these are some of the arguments people are saying. Because in some election, like in Edo, in the area of the election between Osun and Osomole, for instance, there were areas where votes that were cancelled and were kept away from the system. All right, we have joining us now from Osun, a governorship candidate of the Alliance for Democracy, Olugbenga Akintola. Good morning, it's good to have you join us right now. First of all, let me ask you, how satisfied are you with the outcome of the election in Osun State?
Well, I'll say, good morning, viewers. I'll say I'm partially satisfied.
Okay.
With the process. Especially with the fact that it was very peaceful, and we hardly hear of any violence or thuggery that took place. So I need to give kudos to INEC and the good people of Osun State with respect to that. But what I've not been happy about is the fact that I wouldn't call this an election. Because of the fact that money played a massive role in the election.
Talk to us about it.
Say that again?
I said, talk to us about the money, the role of money.
The role of money is called vote buying. People use the Yoruba to say dibo sebe. That means vote and cook.
Cook soup.
And if care is not taken, we're going to get to vote and buy me a car, vote and buy me Okada. So I don't know how we're going to get out of this logjam. So as far as I'm concerned, in terms of peace, tranquility, yes, INEC, people of Osun State, kudos. But with respect to the fact that there is no longer playing field that is level again.
But interestingly,
It's
Olugbenga,
all about money.
Interestingly, INEC, in collaboration with security operatives, gave us a picture of a well-prepared scenario of how to tackle the issue you just mentioned, restructuring the polling booth, ensuring that voters do not enter that booth with their phones. Do you have facts for us? And how exactly did this money change hand in Osun?
Well, you know, when someone wants to carry out anything criminal, they are usually steps ahead of you. So you have instances of electorate being given money before, when they realized that INEC had put processes in place, i.e. making the polling booths more private, and then ensuring that the box where you put the vote is in proximity to the booth that you voted, where you voted. So, but the feedback coming back was such that people were assigned to be in certain locations, and even on the queues, you see people talking to people in front of them, people at the back, and stylishly, exchanging money. And the election went to the highest bidder, and it is not fair on our people. It's not fair on the process. It's not fair on the candidates who came in genuinely to serve the good people of Osun State, who haven't got that kind of financial wherewithal. Even if I have such money, I will never do it. Because it defeats the whole objective of wanting to genuinely serve the people of Osun State.
All right. Besides the issue of vote buying, Olugbenga, let me stay with you. Besides the issue of vote buying, INEC has declared the election inconclusive. What's your reaction to that precisely?
Well, it's a process. It's a process in the electoral processes. And if such a logjam is experienced where the number of council votes is more than the difference between the votes of the two leading candidates, and I believe it's been tested or used somewhere else before in Nigeria. I believe in Imo State. So it's not something that is new as far as I'm concerned. So why not go through that process and then let's have a clear winner?
Okay, so the rerun is already scheduled for Thursday. What role exactly is your party going to play? Already some permutations are already being suggested. Are you going to work with one of the contending parties?
To be very honest with you, my party is not playing any role again because of what we witnessed in the last election. It's not going to be worth a while to even try to do anything again. Because I never came into this because I wanted to use money to influence the voters. This is what really played out in the last process, and I don't want to be part of that. If you genuinely want to serve the people, why should you want to use money to entice them? But unfortunately, because our people have been they are so poor, and you are counting on using their vulnerability, to get back at them. And that is entirely unfair. I will not be part of that process. I will not be involved in using money to influence the innocent people because of their situations. Unfortunately, they are not looking around them to see that the development will be stifled because of this particular situation of allowing people to use money to buy a conscience. And it's so unfair. You need to go around the state and see the level of decadence, the degradation we're experiencing. And yet these people could not see beyond that. It's not fair at all. It's so sad.
Okay, I'd like to stay with you so we can just round off with you before we go into other... from your, at least you are a candidate, from the eyes of the electorate in Osun, what kind of governor are they looking forward to or expecting from this election?
To be very honest with you, I don't even think our people, I'm so sorry to say this, they just bring anybody, so long as the money is right, they cast their vote. So it's like I said, it's extremely sad. It's a sad situation for Osun State. It's a sad situation for Nigeria. And I can see this dovetailing into other elections. If such a logjam is experienced where the number of council votes is more than the difference between the votes of the two leading candidates, and I believe it's been tested or used somewhere else before in Nigeria. I believe in Imo State. So it's not something that is new as far as I'm concerned. So why not go through that process and then let's have a clear winner?
Okay, so the rerun is already scheduled for Thursday. What role exactly is your party going to play? Already some permutations are already being suggested. Are you going to work with one of the contending parties?
To be very honest with you, my party is not playing any role again because of what we witnessed in the last election. It's not going to be worth a while to even try to do anything again. Because I never came into this because I wanted to use money to influence the voters. This is what really played out in the last process, and I don't want to be part of that. If you genuinely want to serve the people, why should you want to use money to entice them? But unfortunately, because our people have been they are so poor, and you are counting on using their vulnerability, to get back at them. That is entirely unfair. I will not be part of that process. I will not be involved in using money to influence the innocent people because of their situations. Unfortunately, they are not looking around them to see that the development will be stifled because of this particular situation of allowing people to use money to buy a conscience. And it's so unfair. You need to go around the state and see the level of decadence, the degradation we're experiencing. And yet these people could not see beyond that. It's not fair at all. It's so sad.
Okay, I'd like to stay with you so we can just round off with you before we go into other... from your, at least you are a candidate, from the eyes of the electorate in Osun, what kind of governor are they looking forward to or expecting from this election?
To be very honest with you, I don't even think our people, I'm so sorry to say this, they just bring anybody, so long as the money is right, they cast their vote. So it's like I said, it's extremely sad. It's a sad situation for Osun State. It's a sad situation for Nigeria. And I can see this dovetailing into other elections. It happened first in Ekiti State. Now we're now having a decision repeated in Osun State, even worse than what happened in Ekiti State. So now you can imagine what's going to happen. I hope it doesn't get to vote for me and buy me Okada, vote for me and buy me a car. If car is not taken. I even went to my family members. They were asking for money. In Ilesha, it was so sad.
Olugbenga, some would say that this I don't care attitude is the reason why we're where we are. The fact that you didn't win in this election shouldn't mean that you should not support whoever wins and see how you can also contribute to your quota in the next 4 years of a new administration. How do you react to that?
Well, for me, I say first we need to have a sustainable advocacy to enlighten our people, to let them know the implications of taking money for votes, that it is going to stifle development. They will be the ones that will suffer for this in the long run. for them to know that 10,000 naira in 4 years amounts to about 6 naira per day. And that cannot even get you a bag of pure water. So these are the things, or sachet of pure water, I'm sorry. So we need to do that continuously. And also, when they hear of the presidential form costing 45 million naira, now they already believe that there's so much money to be made being a politician. Politics is about serving the people, not amassing wealth. You know, these people will see someone who was riding Okada before becoming chairman of a local government, and few months down the line, is driving a Jeep. So these are the kind of things that they see. But we need to enlighten them on a sustainable basis. There's a role to be played by INEC, by government, and by the people. And if you look at situations where you have 10 posters in a town and 9 posters belong to one political party, INEC is not auditing the accounts of political parties. Everybody is just doing whatever they like. Everybody is spending money anyhow, not following the guidelines. And these are some of the issues we need to address. If not, it's going to be the same story everywhere.
All right, but let me ask you this direct question. Have you lost hope in the system?
No, I've not.
Okay.
I've not. The more reason why I was talking about advocacy, this is what I did even whilst I was campaigning. I was letting our people know that if someone gives you 5,000 naira, it means that you are worth 5,000 naira for 5 years. And if you do that simple arithmetic, that gives you about 3 naira per day. Is that what you are worth? But they don't want to hear that, because things have been so bad and they are so dejected that if you give them 2,000 naira today, they are ready to go for that. So our job is to explain to them, to let them know that there are countries in the world who don't have the opportunities that we have, like you have in Osun State, and who have decided to hold the bulls by the horns, and they have now moved from fourth world to first world, a country like Singapore. These are the kind of things we need to show to them, to let them see the before, during, and after. This is where they were before, this is where they were when they decided to make a positive change, and let's see where they are today. But because they cannot even see anything positive, happening around them, because we have messed up so much that they are not happy with what they have been seeing being done by governments. So they've lost hope.
It's all right. Olugbenga Akintola.
We need to equally, yes.
Olugbenga Akintola is the AD candidate in the just concluded first ballot of the Osun election. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us, and wish you the best in future endeavors. Let's get back to the studio now. Well, Nelson Ekujime and Dayo Lomuwagun, right? Did I get that? Is standing by. Thank you for staying the course. Just very quickly, I wanted you to answer precisely which is superior, the constitution that has been quoted by the PDP and the extant law or the electoral law being quoted by INEC in this regard.
I think as far as Nigeria is concerned, and I think in most climes in the world, the country constitution is supreme. Is whatever other extant law, whatever other act you find everywhere, the constitution takes a precedence over them. And in any case, maybe I should quickly say, the provision you even have in that electoral act is talking about, it's not about when voter cancel, it's when there's a tie. So this cancellation, we need to look at it. Again, my concern is why do we need to go for a run now? Now, I agree you want to give people who have not been able to vote, you want to give them the chance, but are we changing almost what has been the precedent? Is whatever INEC has done in the past, are they saying those were wrong, and now we want to start a fresh template where clearly there's no provision in the act or anywhere that if the margin anywhere, these are common, these are just our human interpretation, not explicitly in the law. I don't know whether somebody is trying to read a spirit into the law, but the way it's stated in that act, there's not stated anywhere that if the margin here between the the leader and the runner-off is not up to what you the area where we're cancelled, where people were cancelled, that you should go for. Those were not clearly stated, and that is why you're having more noise around this election.
Okay, Nelson, let me come to you on this. If we cast our minds back to the election, the first election of Oshomole, where he contested with Osareme Osumbo in Edo State, also in 2009 or 2010 thereabout. Some of these issues given by INEC in Ife and Oshobo and Orodu local government also occurred at that time. The issue of overvoting was there, the issue of malpractices were there, the issue of disruptions were there, and all of that. But what INEC did, in fact, when they got to court, in fact, there was even the recount of the votes, and then they only expunged and removed the overvoting, removed all the ones that were not allowed, and the actual figures were given. Does it amount to double standards because INEC that time is still INEC now?
Well, it doesn't. I want to disagree with my learned brother here. Okay. Because the Electoral Act is a creation from the Constitution. Yeah. The Electoral Act only becomes, any provision in the Electoral Act only becomes invalid when it conflicts with the provisions of the Constitution. Okay. And the Electoral Act is a creation of the law. Don't forget, the Electoral Act is not a creation of INEC. It's a creation of the National Assembly. So we must get that very clear. In those cases you have mentioned, and even the Kogi in 2014, it was not because there was a tie. It was not because the APC candidate had 50, the PDP candidate had 50. It was because the number of, the difference between
the margin between the two
was lower than the registered voters.
In places
not
where
even the accredited voters. You must get that very clear. It's because the number of registered voters there was more than the difference between both. So that is why INEC is sticking to the rules. In those cases you have mentioned, those were also the reasons why we had the runoff or rerun. So in this case, INEC is still on the page, they have set in time immemorial. So if any one of us is in doubt, we will even be helping the system if we go to court to challenge this. So for me, as a Democrat, I stand with the Constitution and I stand with the Electoral Act. For this, anybody quoting the Constitution and leaving out the provisions of the Electoral Act is only being clever by half, because definitely the Electoral Act, the rule states that a candidate must gain the highest number of lawful votes. He must have 1/3 of the votes in 2/3 of the total votes. Then the difference between the two leading candidates must not be below the number of votes in cancelled areas. In those other places where you've had where elections have been cancelled and results have been announced, is because the difference between the leading candidate and the runner-up was greater than the number of cancelled votes.
But let me stay with you for a bit, because some would say that this challenge occurs when the margin isn't wide. The implication of that is that we are saying that a single vote doesn't matter. Do you agree with that? Because there are just 353, vote margin, and then now we have to get back to cancelled votes. It would have been different if it was 35,000. Some are saying that the impact subsequently would be that you are saying to voters that a single vote might not even elect a governor.
I don't think so. My position about it is that what we are saying is that if politicians or some of the stakeholders in the process have decided to take the shortcuts, and they are taking the shortcut, they are now at an advantage position, even if it is by one, that they must not be allowed to enjoy the fruits of their disruption of their manipulation of the process. So it is like, if I know that is your stronghold now, politicians, like every other human being, just like in football, you want to win at all costs. When the player, you have the last man. Look at in the Premier League. Once you try to bring down the last striker trying to dribble you, it's a red card. That is to tell you there's no shortcut. You pay for it. So in this case, if you try to take a shortcut to achieve victory, that means we are also saying that no, those people that you have used your shortcut to disenfranchise, will allow them to have a say in the process.
But is it not also a shortcut if politicians find out that the margin isn't wide, and then they ensure that certain votes are cancelled to take advantage of that section of the law?
Well, the point there is everyone will do everything to, that's why it's a game, because you have to do everything to win as far as is within the law. But INEC is there to say you must act within the confines of the law. Any gimmick you want to, for instance, like the issue of vote buying that Akintola mentioned earlier on. The role of INEC certainly is to ensure that when we come to play, the law must be obeyed and abided by. But before that time, INEC may not have anything to do with the
INEC powers begins and ends on the
day of the election.
Yes, that is why in this election, like, we must give kudos to them. They placed the cubicle in a position where people cannot see the votes. But you know, due to the nature of man, we also have these reports, like Akintola said, people paying a day before. If we now, you know, the essence of that placing the cubicle was to counter the vote buying menace. Now the people who are involved, who are interested in keeping the status quo of vote buying, have now, okay, if you say we cannot come there and give them money, we'll give them a day before. And if we even say we are monitoring money transfers a day before, they can even change it to a week before.
Let me break Dio in very quickly. So how does the INEC and security operatives defeat vote buying in the rerun election? Because in this case, there are fewer people. And when you have fewer people, there are more money to go around. How, beyond waiting for election day, because the allegations now is that the money does not, is not being distributed on election day again.
I think it become more difficult now to actually control vote buying. You see, whatever, I mean, for any human being, for almost everybody, whatever it will cost you at this point, you're talking about just about 3,000 votes. If you need to give them 50,000 naira, if they have been collected to 2,000, if you need to give 100K, I mean, it's that bad. And the way I see it, it is pretty difficult. So what do you want to do? Do you want to collate the name of all the voters in those units and begin to monitor their account now? Maybe that sounds, if you have to go to that extreme. But do we have the protocols on ground? Is EFCC or whoever, are they ready to go that length? So it becomes, if you say what you have had in the last in the Saturday election, it was not as democratic as you expected it. I mean, I think it's going to go worse. It's become more difficult. And for me, I'm not really sure what EFCC will do about this, what INEC will do. Again, like he may mention, the work of INEC starts right on the day of the election, at the polling booth. So if it will be difficult. And that is the most unfortunate part of it. So now, maybe alliances here and there will also come into play a role.
And even in addition to that, I think the most important thing is to enlighten the voter better and even more, because he is the one that can say, no, I don't want to collect monies, or he's the one who will say, okay, bring monies, I want to collect, as the case may be.
But the monies, in quotes, are going to be higher this time. The temptation is going to be higher.
Because there are fewer places to go to now. And the number of persons are fewer now. And you know that these fewer persons are going to determine who becomes the next governor. So irrespective of who was leading before.
That's our fear, as you know, as stakeholders in the process. And also, they were talking about how do we curb vote buying. I think the most important role we all have to play is this advocacy. Because we have had reports now, even though we don't have the facts at our fingertips, that money was being paid a day before. We even had reports that when people were being given money, they swore on oaths. That is how fast some people can go. So it is now a responsibility.
Oath on 2,000.
Yes, because they are not sure. Now you cannot use your phone to snap and come and collect money. It's now a matter of lottery, a gamble. If I give you money, will you vote for me? No, I know what to use to hold you. Okay, so on oath, if you don't vote for me, this is what will happen to you. Bring your blood.
And you know how powerful Osun is when it comes to
yes. So we had reports that some people refrained from doing that. Some accepted because they wanted to go there, maybe because they were hungry on that day. But by and large, it's a collective responsibility that we all owe ourselves. It's very unfortunate that we have found ourselves at this stage where people have been so economically traumatized. But we must always admonish our people that being economically traumatized does not mean you should throw away 4 years of your life. Even if your life is wasted as an individual. How about your children?
There are two top contenders in this election who have the chance to win. in this forthcoming rerun. Why did INEC have to allow 48 parties to contest in the first day rerun? Dial.
To
This rerun now, according to INEC,
Yeah,
will have
between-
all the candidates participate. Why is that so?
So I think, again, although there are two main contenders, you have expected it's going to be between them. But maybe in the spirit of giving everybody a chance, maybe in the spirit of some other party who you think they are not relevant now because they are not the main contender, maybe it's for them not to just go and line up behind one of the other parties. And in that case, maybe it's not going to be free at the end of the day. So if you're loyal to your party, and okay, we say everybody go back and, I mean, it's the same number of polling units. So if everybody go and line up behind whoever you want to line up, vote for who you want to vote for. So maybe INEC in his will and think with that, there will still be fairness. You'll be able to control people from just going to queue behind one of the main contenders.
All right, but Nelson, what kind of alignments or realignments do you think can go on now? Because from between yesterday when INEC conducted its press briefing and all of that, we know that politicians will go back to the drawing board.
That's right.
Now that even though they've said 48 political parties, go to the polls, make your decision and all of that, but we know that it's just some few polling units within 4 local governments. What kind of alignments between the other political parties that were not amongst the 1 and 2nd contender?
I think the alignments, naturally, we must be realistic. I think the alignments, the negotiations now will be about which party controls this area. These areas, which party strongholds are they? So negotiations will have commenced immediately INEC made that pronouncement. So it is not unexpected if you now hear, maybe today or tomorrow, or we read somewhere, that candidate A is being approached and this is what is going on. But we must expect, like in all contests, if I know I need this victory and I know you are the one, you have a greater clout than me in this territory, it is natural that I will approach you and make some offers to you. So it is in the spirit of even democracy for us to continue to engage. But by and large, I think we must admonish all these stakeholders to just keep by the rules of the game and think of the greater good of the people of Osun State.
I think this is the point where the Omoluabi status of Osun will now really be tested.
Exactly. Omoluabi. I like the word.
And we see how virtuous the people really are. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the show this morning. We've been speaking with Dayo Lomoagun, who's a legal practitioner. Nelson Ekujimi is Executive Director, Committee for the Protection of People's Mandate. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, gentlemen. And we also thank Olubenga Kintola, the AD governorship candidate from Osun State, who joined us earlier on from Osogbo. All right, just before we go, we have to let you know that the views and reactions of our resource persons on the topics discussed on the program today are their views and have no connection with TVC News. The debate is still on the streets from the election in Osun State, and certainly everyone is going to wait for Thursday, 27th, to know who the next governor of Osun State will be.
We're counting down.
Exactly, we're counting down, and we will be on ground. So in all the units there and the 4 local governments, we will be there. So keep a tab on TVC, and we'll let you know what is going down and how it is going down. We must thank you for spending your morning with us. Have a great day ahead. Tomorrow we'll be back again with other issues. I am Mike Okwache.
I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Whichever way it goes on Thursday, I'm sure that politicians would have learned a big lesson.
Exactly. And democracy would have been entrenched even more. Thank you, and bye for now.